Hey guys, so another tutorial on how to do different types of flexi joint links and things like that. I'm going to go over today how I do my snap-in head joints like this. You see we got a little pin there that prints separate, and then these snap together, and then you can either have them have like a whole 360 turn radius, or I like to limit mine so that they just turn side to side. And I'm going to explain to y'all how to do these kind of joints, how they work, and also why I switched from doing ball joints for the head sockets to these type of joint. And that has a lot to do with print orientation. So my heads, when I'm printing them separately, I'll print them flat on the build plate like this, right? So that means whichever, obviously I can't do a ball on this side because it's not, gonna lay flat on the build plate. So I'll do the socket on this side of the head, but problem with that I've found after doing a few of these like that is because with 3D printing your layer lines build up this direction, that means that there were weak points because of the layer lines and how those sorted out. And so, the ball is trying to print and you're adding pressure into that ball socket. And so it had a tendency to sometimes snap on those ball sockets, which you're gonna have that problem no matter where you do your ball socket joints. You're gonna have to beef them up a little bit. But I found that problem especially with printing the heads that direction because it was going straight up, versus with the wings, I have less of that issue because we have more of an angle here to help give that a little bit more structural integrity because the filament is stronger at different printing angles. So that is why I ended up doing these type of heads instead of the ball sockets. So hopefully that makes sense. I use these type of joints for a lot of other things now too. So I'm gonna get into how I put those together, and it's super easy, so hopefully it helps. Bye. Y'all, I just made this whole tutorial here and realized that I did not click the record button. So here's the finished product of these pins that we're talking about. So I'm gonna backtrack some and kind of explain to y'all how we got here and why. So let's erase that. First of all, we are starting with this pin shape. And how I got that is I'm gonna add a cylinder. Oops. And I'm gonna add another cylinder. I'm gonna clone that guy. So make one smaller. Let's shorten that guy a little bit. And then from here, excuse me, we want to go in and add a slot for that guy so that you have the flex there for that pin to snap into place. You're going to line so that he has some angulation to get in there properly into whatever you are snapping him into. See how that tip is flared there? So it can kind of snap in there nice and snug. And then of course we want to, let's merge these two. Oh, wrong one. That one can stay. Let's merge those two. Join. And like I did with that one, we are going to cut the edges off of this because we want to be able to print it flat on the build plate. So, oops. Oh man, I cut the wrong edges. Hold on. There we go. These are the edges we want to cut. There we go. So now we have this basic little pin shape, and this print orientation is really important because we want to print this flat on the build plate like this. Like this is the footprint that it's going to put on the build plate, because printing, y'all know, when you lay down a layer, it's going to go like this, which is great because that is the way you're going to have the most strength within your printing item when you're adding any pressure or flex and anything like that. So that is where, here, let's take a little crocodile man, since I've been abusing my bird. That is where this is going to be able to handle the stress of flexing and pinching every time it goes into this socket, versus if it prints from the build plate up this way, we're having layer lines here, and then when you add tension, those layer lines are going to be a weak point for it to break. So we want to make sure that we're printing it on a flat on the build plate like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add another cylinder, lots of cylinders, because we want to make ourselves a little socket that this pin is going to snap into. Let's hide our old one that y'all missed. So what we want to do is we want to make a socket area that fits the big part of the pin and then a thinner neck. So that way, when this pin goes in, this allows it to kind of flex and pinch in, and when it gets into the wider part, it'll snap out automatically. So let's add some cylinders. Let's make this guy like red so he's easy to see. And this guy smaller. So it just kind of encases the fat edge of that pin. And if you look at it from above, we still have this whole cylinder. So that way, when we have this guy, he can rotate all around in that socket. To prevent that, if you don't want it to be able to rotate all around, I'll usually just add like a little cube, like right there, to block off one side so that it can rotate some, but not all the way. So we're going to put that cylinder like that. We're going to clone it so we can make our thinner one. And that looks good. So we're going to join those. Then we are going to cut them out. Oh, let's hide it first. Cut it out. Like that. And so then this white area here is the socket that pin is going to be able to snap into. It's hard to see, obviously, when it is not transparent, but you can kind of see the walls in there. And this is not like, I don't know how well this exact pin would work. This type of joint that has to do with a lot of tolerances and shapes and things and flex on your filament takes a lot of testing to figure out exactly, similar to the ball joint, but this kind of helps give you the basic concepts of the shapes and things that you need to go for to get this type of pin working. You know, you may end up needing to make this pin slot wider or deeper this way or thinner this way. Maybe it's too fragile. Maybe, you know, you need to thin out the walls of the pin so it doesn't stick out so much, things like that. And so you're going to have to play around with that a little bit, test print a lot to get it working. But then once you kind of find those tolerances and ranges that work for you, you can reuse that pin on a bunch of different models like I do with these guys. And, you know, this is a ball socket too, the same ball socket that is in the wings. So that should help you kind of have the basic concept of where to at least get started with this thing and then get test printing. So hopefully that is helpful for y'all, and I'll talk to y'all later.